Shalom. Kol halalim la Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushai, Bahashem Rakakodash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. And shalom to the prophets of thy body. And shalom to the 144,000 and one third. May peace and blessings be upon your households. And may Yahweh Bahashem Yashai speed this kingdom up, this whack kingdom, as soon as possible. Speed it up, speed it up, speed it up. You know, as you know, time is going fast. You know, for the hopeful elect. May the Lord speed it up even further. But anyway, shalom. You know, there's a couple of scriptures that come to mind. I'm just going to do a quick one. There's a couple of things I've noticed. You know, the more. Okay, before I read this one, let me go to this one. Is it with wisdom? No, with wisdom comes more sorrow. I was going to quote it, and hopefully it'll be picked up. With wisdom comes more sorrow. King James Version. Yeah. Yeah, that's the one. Yeah. Ecclesiastes 1:18. For in much wisdom is much grief, and he that increaseth knowledge increaseth sorrow. Okay, and I'm not one of them individuals or those one of them Israelites that is a ninja, spiritual ninja with the scriptures, you know. But Brakti Habashim Ashah, we learn from our apostles and elders. So Albaratazar, you know, I pray to the Lord daily for increase in spiritual knowledge, you know. And Albarat, you know, Lord willing, Brakti Habashim Ashah, it is increasing, and I'm getting understanding, you know. And you know, it makes sense. And what I'm trying to say is that I understand it. So when the elders and apostles are teaching, it just clicks. Everything just fits, right? So it makes sense, you know. But me, myself personally, I don't know how to, like, you know, go to this one and go to that one, go to this one, go to that one, because it takes time, you know. Even it takes more than a lifetime to get to that beautiful level, you know. But Ecclesiastes 1:18 again. For in much wisdom is much grief, and he that increaseth knowledge increaseth sorrow. All right. We're approaching the end. There's a whole lot going on, right? And Brakti Habashim Yashai for that. But also along with making videos on what's going on in terms of geopolitics and things around the world and the Karagma, World War III. You know, I knew about, you know, even the entertainment of this world and our people that have to sell out to make it, whether it's sports, whether it's music, whether it's film, movies, theater, being a reporter, having a high position in a company, even if you're not in front of the camera. You have to do things on the left-hand side to be part of that world. All right. And as you grow in spiritual knowledge, you start seeing things. You start picking up things, right? And I can go to an array of videos, music videos, even boxing, right? I noticed a video yesterday, and there was no reason to throw up these certain signs, all right? And these are boxing videos, Lennox Lewis from back 25, 30 years ago, I believe, all right? So Ecclesiastes 1:18 again, for in much wisdom is much grief, and he that increaseth knowledge increaseth sorrow. Okay, now where's the video here? Check this out. Now he's in the ring. It looks like he's in some kind of trance. All right, Lennox Lewis, I think he's Benjamin, Canadian stroke UK boxer. He trained with Russell Peters in boxing camps in Canada. You know Russell Peters, which I think Russell Peters is possibly a Jake. You know he's Anglo-Indian, but which he's from the southern states of India. So I think he's possibly an Israelite foreigner. The stand-up comedian, the world would deem him as an East Indian, but that's neither here or there. Possibly a Jake. I'm 50-50 with him, but nevertheless, now look at that. They're showing their allegiance. Now, what is the reason for throwing that up? Back in the day, Jake on the streets in the UK and in the States, I never see them throwing up these signs, right? We know what this means, all right? It's showing allegiance, all right? Letting your powers that be know that, yeah, things are going in the right direction. Now, all these fights, even though they look brilliant, whether it comes to so-called American football or or in America known as football, basketball, soccer, boxing, everything, everything is staged. It's all theater. It's all a world stage. All right. It may look realistic, right? And it doesn't mean that these Jake boxers and these artists aren't bad mofos. They are bad mofos. Don't get it twisted. They can get down like that, but it's all done in a way where the powers that be can make major money, major moolah. They can make some major money, and it's all done in a way to appease their gods that they worship, which are on the left hand side. All right. Let's go to Baphomet. Baphomet hand signals. Oh, Baphomet hand signals. Baphomet. I said Baphomet. This damn thing been playing up, man. Look at that. Sign of the horns. See? Look at that. All right. I've seen these. See, me being an Israelite foreigner, right? I grew up watching a lot of Bollywood movies as well. And a lot of the Bollywood actors and actresses are Jake, right? And if, because we're the salt of the earth, we bring flavor to everything. So a lot of Jake in the West ain't gonna understand the lingo, of course, and the culture, but I do because I grew up in the West with the Eastern, but East is Eastern inside the house, but Western on the outside. So I got a flavor of both worlds, and I could understand, what's going on, right? They do these signs as well. They cover the one eye. A lot of the Bollywood actors cover one eye, you know, the all, the all-seeing eye, all these kinds of symbols. So, but what is the purpose of this? They're showing allegiance. Let's go back to the showing allegiance. All right, you would think that he's just got talent. It's not just talent. Okay, you've got to have a certain amount of talent, but to get to that certain echelon or level where you want to achieve and have those things, because what they do is you dance to the devil's tune, right? They will give you goodies, but you will have to follow a religion on the left hand side. You'll have to do rituals. You'll have to do everything. That's how Jake's always been from the get go. Hence the reason why we're in the condition today. It's because of Jake's like this. You know what I mean? They wanted to be like everybody else, not follow the laws, statutes, and commandments, but they wanted to be like, they don't want to be a holy or separate people, pursuant to Deuteronomy 7, verse 6. They wanted to be like everybody else. They wanted to go along to get along kind of situation. This is why we're in the predicament today. But it was all meant to be. Okay, so we can learn good, evil from good, and learn both good and evil. So we can be perfect judges in our kingdom to come, which is very soon. Okay, now he's just a perfect example. All right, all these athletes, Frank Bruno, Mike Tyson, all of them. Mike Tyson's, little daughter. What happened to her. She was about 3, 4 years old. You know, a lot of these athletes have to sacrifice their little babies. And as powerful as Mike Tyson is, if you look at him sometimes, he's got a lot of fear in his eyes. High on drugs all the time. You can see the pain in the man. He even talks about being hypnotized. There's some weird shit that goes on behind closed doors, man. Okay, they let you know. They give you see. Look, he's signifying to whoever the handlers are that it's all going to be good. Yeah, we're on your side. Everything's going according to plan. And this is a secret code amongst the people on the left-hand side. All right, the powers that be, certain lodges, Freemasons, what do you call them? The Boule, the other handlers, the Edomite handlers. The Illuminati are right at the top, but they've got their puppets and lower level people that control these different elements, be it sports, music, Formula One, whatever it is, they've got their hands in it. All right, because this is their world for the short duration they have it. Okay, I've got a couple of scriptures here. Which other was I going to say? All right, and the Lord told us, okay, never to trust our enemy, but our people keep trusting the damn devil. All right, I mean, even Cassius Clay, even though he's a foolish man, right, becoming a Muslim, you telling me that he doesn't have to do what he had to do? Are you telling me that Cassius Clay was just talented and he could have control over his life and everything was perfect and blah, blah, blah? Nah, he was controlled too. Okay, he was controlled too. All right. Ecclesiasticus 12. A friend cannot be known in prosperity, and an enemy cannot be hidden in adversity. And an enemy cannot be hidden in adversity. All right? Because when you're doing well, everyone's around you. All right? Like a lot of these rappers say, when they had nothing, girls wouldn't really holler at them. They don't want to know. But as soon as they've got something, everybody thinks that they're fine. The girls start saying, oh, he's fine. Like Wesley Snipes, for example. Skinny Jake, dark skinned or whatever. Back in the day, girls didn't want to know. Then all of a sudden, Wesley Snipes becomes famous. I think Martin Lawrence did a little skit on him and what was it called? The show that I used to watch back in the 90s. What was that show, man? With Russell Simmons. The hip hop comedy jam. Let me just find it. Russell Simmons comedy show name. Def Comedy Jam. That's it. Def Comedy Jam. Right? And Martin Lawrence, because a lot of comedy, they tell you what time it is, right? And obviously that's the way it is. When you're famous and you're doing well, people want to be your friend. And an enemy cannot be hidden in adversity, right? When the things are going bad for you, nobody wants to hang around with you, okay? Because nobody's, because that's why a lot of these rich guys or people that have sold themselves in this world have a huge entourage. All right, you got leeches everywhere. All right. In prosperity of a man, enemies will be grieved. All right, when you're doing well, people hate. All right, what did Mike Epps say? He goes, when he goes back to his hometown in Indianapolis, is that where he's from? Yeah, Indianapolis, yeah, Midwest. He says his friends aren't happy for him. He said he had more friends when he was fucked up on drugs. But when he's doing well and he's doing well for himself, his friends don't want to talk to him. He's even Mike Epps said, he's got to kill himself for people to love him. And then, I guess he's cut a lot of his so-called friends off, right? In prosperity of a man, in the prosperity of a man, enemies will be grieved. But in his adversity, even a friend will depart. So when things ain't going back, when things are not going well for you, right? When things ain't going well for you, a lot of people will depart also. Okay? In the prosperity of a man, enemies will be grieved, but in his adversity, even a friend will depart. Right? Never trust thine enemy. All right. Look at the treatment we've got from the so-called white man thus far, and look how they treated us. It's like a lot of these jakes. My generation of children born in the 70s, we knew what the white so-called white man was. Even before I knew I was an Israelite, I hated the so-called white man. I never liked him. Okay, because I knew about their tyrannical ways. We learned about it in the UK, them taking over different parts of the world and annexing it and enslaving people, blah, 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 Even back then, I was like, I was one of them people like, so-called black and brown people unite, and I was more inclined to be close to West Indians more, and my people, Israelite foreigners from my part of the world, North India, whatever, right? And Latinos. I wasn't really keen on Somalians and all the other, but it was like a natural kinship and then lo and behold, I find out many years later that I'm an Israelite and these are my people. So it made sense. All right. But our people forget, especially Generation Z, they forget. They think that the so-called white man can be trusted. What did even Cassius Clay say? You got a pit of snakes, right? I call him Cassius Clay, or AKA Muhammad Ali. What did he say? You got a pit of snakes, 100 snakes in a pit. 50 are poisonous, 50 are not poisonous. Are you still going to put your hand in there? Hell no. Never trust thine enemy. For like as iron rusteth, so is his wickedness. Okay? You can't even trust your own. Our people are wickeder than the wicked. Because when Jake becomes wicked, Jake's go way left when it comes to becoming doing wickedness. You got an Edomite faggot, right? He'll still probably be trying to behave in a certain masculine manner. But then you got a Jake who becomes a faggot, right? He'll become wearing high heels. He'll be 7 feet tall with a beard on his face like Rick Ross, you know, walking around with stilettos, all that extra hand gestures and, really being, what's the word, man? Really being extravagant with his behavior, like us, because most faggots basically try and behave like so-called black women, right? Especially Edomite faggots now, especially nowadays, all right? Never trust thine enemy, for like as iron rusteth, so is his wickedness. Right? Verse 11. Though he humble himself and go crouching, yet take good heed and be aware of him, and thou shalt be unto him as if thou hast wiped a looking glass, and thou shalt know that his rust hath not been altogether wiped away. Verse 12. Set him not by thee, lest when he hath overthrown thee, he stand up in thy place. Neither let him sit at thy right hand, lest he seek to take thy seat. All right, and thou at the last remember my words and be pricked therewith. All right, and that's what ultimately Esau wants to do, is take your seat, Jake. They want their birthright back, which is not going to happen, of course. Ultimately, what they're doing, all these in their rulership, is they're trying to control you, Jakes, make money out of your talent, and afterwards, now they've got AI involved. They're trying to mimic and replicate everything, and ultimately, they want to get rid of you. They get rid of the Israelites. What's going to happen? Well, that's what they did try to do, right? C19. Oh, you got to put the piss juice in, the snake juice in the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and natives. Why them? I thought the disease started in Gukland, Wuhan, China. But ultimately, it was designed in America, patented in America. All right? So what the hell's Negroes, Latinos, and natives got to do with it? Why? Because you're the Israelites. They want to get rid of you. They get rid of you. Crackers think, Edomites think that, yeah, we'll get our birthright back. Okay? Lest he seek to take thy seat. They try and take your seat, Jake. Verse 13. Who will pity a charmer that is bitten with a serpent, or any such as come nigh wild beasts? All right? Who's going to pity you? All right? You've been warned in the industry. Now, a lot of people in the early, you listen, you're probably warned, you're probably asked, do you want to do this ritual? If you will do this ritual, you'll get through that door. Yeah? Even Noriega, man, a Drink Champs, he even mentioned it in a Vlad interview. He wasn't doing so well. Now, all of a sudden, he's on P. Diddy's, I think P. Diddy owns Drink Champs, I'm not sure. Possibly, right? And now all of a sudden, he talks about being rich and being famous and all these kinds of things. Noriega, if you think about it, he's kind of retarded, but then again, he's doing well. Why? Because I'm sure he's done a few things to walk through that door, right? So you're warned, but then, you get bitten. Who will pity a charmer that is bitten with a serpent, right? Or any such as come nigh wild beasts. Verse 14, so one that goeth to a sinner and is defiled with him in his sins, who will pity? Right? So one that goeth to a sinner and is defiled with him in his sins, who will pity? Who's going to pity you now? All right, you Jakes that have done what you've done. Right? Mark 8:36, for what shall it profit a man if he shall gain the whole world and lose his own soul? All right, you gained the world, you gained everything, but you lost your own soul. All right, when you look in the mirror, you're upset. Okay, you're upset all the time. A lot of you so-called famous people, you do your left-hand side activities, your rituals, and afterwards you go to church and cry tears like Tyrese and start singing hymns, thinking that hopefully you'll be washed with some kind of holy water to try and feel, it's uh, it's you feel somewhat better again. You know, it's like a crack or a heroin addict. They smoke dope for a day, and then they get rid of all the numbers of their dealers and say, "I'm not going to do it again." And then 2 days later, they're trying to find those numbers to trying to score and get high again. You know, same thing with you. A lot of you, you so-called famous people. All right, that's why a lot of you so-called famous people are doped up all the time. Isn't drugs and alcohol a huge problem with so-called famous people? Whitney Houston, Bobby Brown, Jim Jones, right? Who's the other guy, man, with is it Tia Maria? What is it? Rick James and all that. You know, James Brown. Yeah. Richard Pryor. What did Richard Pryor say? He made jokes about effing a goat. You know, doing fag activities, being high all the time, burning himself. What's all that? They know what they've done, but they numb it with drugs. And then when they do their disgusting rituals, they go back to the huge mansion and they see those marble floors and the swimming pools, and they might have an attractive wife or whatever. They see their trinkets, their cars, and they think, okay, cool, this is what I'm doing it for. All right. But still, it kills them inside. All right. Because you can't look at yourself in the mirror. You've done things that are adverse to your temperament, your spiritual temperament, your spirituality. You're a man. You got a rod, but you're lying down on your front with another man coming up your backside. You're being treated like a woman. That takes away from yourself, doesn't it? Right? You're getting on your knees, putting your mouth onto another man's rod. Okay? You're doing P. Diddy activities, Epstein activities. How do you think you're going to feel? Right? You got to drink blood, eat feces, drink piss. Right? You got to probably eat human flesh as well. All these kinds of things, man, to appease the gods on the left-hand side, man. And I'm saying that with a small G. All right. Salaki, I've got to be frank with it, man. And I'm just touching on the tip of the iceberg. This shit is just disgusting, you know. Luke 6:24. But woe unto you that are rich, for ye have received your consolation. You got your consolation prize. You got your riches of this world. The elect are waiting for the real riches, man. Okay, the elect, the hopeful elect we want the laws. We want to behold our King, man. You know, we want to see our Lord and He look at us in favor. Right? We want the laws, statutes, and commandments with us. We want the new bodies. We want to live in a righteous world, man. Okay, where we're not waking up tired and crying and upset some days because we're going through hell. You know, we want to see our children play in the street with other Israelite children, you know, and not worry, you know, speeding cars going by or whatever, weirdos, faggots, PDF files, you know, vans driving around trying to kidnap children. You know, you want to live in a world of peace. You don't want to see, you know, it's just, there's so many things that we want. We want peace in this world, man. Like Elder Kazaki Allah of Mississippi would say, Jake just wants peace, man. Jake will be happy, you know, being in the kingdom, sitting on a tree, you know, and, you know, praying, man, you know, for example, or just taking in nature, man, and just contemplating your thoughts and smiling, man, you know. Obviously, Elder Kazaki Allah didn't say it like that, but, you know, he said, you know, Jake will just be happy, man, just being in nature, man, in the kingdom, you know, because basically, ultimately, Jake just wants to be at peace, you know. Luke 6:24. But woe unto you that are rich, for ye have received your consolation. You've received your consolation of this world. All right. A lot of you unelect. All right. A lot of you 2/3 are the elect to be deleted on this side. You'll come back as children in the kingdom. All right. Through the loins of the elect men. All right. One blessing you non-elect have, you non-elect Israelites, is that you're still Israelites. All right. You're still Israelites. So. All right, but you might have to die a horrible, gruesome death, or however the Lord will take you out. Luke 6:25. Woe unto you that are full, for ye shall hunger. Woe unto you that laugh now, for ye shall mourn and weep. A lot of you laugh and joke when you initially sign these contracts, and then afterwards you're mourning and weeping. You know, all those millions you made come and go. You know. Verse 26. You know, then you've got to be like Mike Tyson in your old age, damn near 60 plus. fighting a cracker, and just for a payday, which was all set up anyway. Mike ultimately would have fucked that Peckerwood up, right? That Edomite up. But, it was a payday thing, right? He had to sort of basically it was just basically just theatre, and people called it out anyway. If you read the comments on the page of YouTube, people are talking about it anyway, saying that's all bullshit. It's all set up. You know, and obviously a 30-year difference as well. It's just a good payday for Mike. Verse 26: Woe unto you, when all men shall speak well of you, for so did their fathers to the false prophets. Oh man, I like this guy. He's a good rapper. He's a good boxer. Oh, he's such a nice person. He's so humble. Blah blah blah. All right. So woe unto you when all men shall speak well of you. And a lot of these people speak well of people like that. All right, because all this, okay, obviously, more than likely these guys were gladiators. What does Mike Tyson say? Mike Tyson used to come in the ring with black shorts on and no socks, with his black boots or his black boxing footwear, and and no robe. What did he used to say? He goes, he feels like a gladiator walking into the Colosseum, and that was spiritual, because in the ancient world, he more than likely was a gladiator walking into the Colosseum. He looks powerful on this side in this world, a little smaller, but in the ancient world, he's probably maybe 8-9 feet tall, even more swole and more dangerous looking. You know? And what did the Lord say, man? It's easy for a camel to pass through through the eye of a needle, than a rich man to enter into the kingdom of heaven. Let's get that scripture. Actually, I don't want to butcher it. Lord forbid I don't want forbid I butcher it. It is easier for a camel to pass through the eye of a needle. King James Version. Matthew 19:24. Matthew 19:24. And again I say unto you, it is easier for a camel to go through the eye of a needle than for a rich man to enter into the kingdom of the Most High Yahweh Bahashem Yahushai. Right? Because most of the elect, they live day to day. They work regular jobs. Okay, some jakes have a little bit more than others. All right, there's a balance in this thing. All right, and it doesn't mean that some elect members that lawfully have earned their money, right? They have money like that. Okay, where they earn really good money, they'll just be a help to the body. Okay, but they wouldn't have sold their backside. They probably got a good construction job. They take on big jobs and they make good money, and they're very they're very attentive to their employees. You know what I mean? They pay them good wages, and the employees are happy. Blah blah blah. Right? That's just the way it works. If you sold your backside, like a lot of these so-called famous people, you're not gonna make it through, man. A lot of these famous people, I look at them. I think about. I look at Eddie Murphy. He knows he's an Israelite. You're telling me a lot of these people don't know? They think that because they're Israelites, they're going to make it into the kingdom anyway. They're going to be in the kingdom ruling. They think that, yeah, I can do what I've got to do on this side to make it and live comfortably, because I'm an Israelite anyway. I'm going to be all right. They don't realize the fact that the Lord, Yahweh Shema Shai, has got something planned for them to be deleted in a gruesome way. And it blows my mind thinking that a lot of these so-called millionaires, the Eddie Murphys, the who else, Steve Harveys, who else? Any Jakes that are wealth, or the Oprahs, for example, are still residing in America, right? Unless they have like some kind of seat in one of them bunkers underground. I don't know. Because a lot of these Edomite so-called rich people have got homes in France and Greece and Australia and New Zealand. They got these so-called neutral zones where, especially New Zealand and Australia, which is basically no man's land. They've got like bunkers and yards over there. All right. And a lot of and if you see, a lot of famous people have moved, like even like 50 Cent, Joe Rogan, they live in Texas, because in Texas you can be gung ho. You can have all types of artillery. You can walk around with a damn near AK-47 sitting on the passenger side with a seatbelt on. You could ride around with, armed up to the teeth, and they've moved to places where you can have a lot of weaponry, because they know what's coming. All right. But our people, right? A lot of you, even if you think that, yeah, I'm an Israelite, and you know that you're an Israelite, but I'm going to still do what I'm going to do, because I don't want to go back to the hood, and I don't want to live from paycheck to paycheck. What people are going to say? Oh, what happened to you, man? You were rich, and you know, damn, homie, you were the man, homie. What happened? What happened? What happened? They're ashamed of that even. The Denzel Washingtons and all that. You telling me he don't know? He's from New York. You telling me he don't know? They all know, man. But they refuse to take heed. Matthew 19:24 again, and again, I say unto you, it is easier for a camel to go through the eye of a needle than for a rich man to enter into the kingdom of the Most High. All right? Okay? I know I made it long and drawn out, but sometimes you just want to emphasize the fact that, this is not a small little thing, man. You'd realize how deep this goes, man. From your one hit wonder song, people that do a one hit wonder song, you always wonder, where did that person go, man? She was a really good singer, and she was attractive. You think about it back in the day when you were a child, what happened to her? Then you realize as you get older with this world, how it is, and how it is on the left hand side, and what people have to do to make it. And a lot of people leave. They're offered a contract, they're offered money, but you got to do this, you got to sleep with this executive, that executive, or if she's a female, because I even heard that, which is more than likely true, Queen Latifah, brings girls in as well, and she puts a strap on, right? She uses a strap on, to sort of break in newcomer girls or female artists or whatever. She's part of one of the gatekeepers also. They use a lower level gatekeeper, of course, because she's a ninja woman, right? A lot of, your Lil Kim, she even talks about it. I think it was in a radio show with Wendy Williams, before Wendy Williams got really famous. Wendy Williams interviewed Lil Kim's one of her ex-boyfriends, who was probably he was a street ninja, right? And when Lil Kim had to do something, sleep with another woman, right? Obviously, lesbian activity, and Lil Kim felt sick to her stomach, and she didn't want to do it. Which she was part of. It's the female version of the Masons. What's the female version of the Masons? What's the female version of Freemasons? This isn't this. Oh, that's not it. Damn, I forgot the name. It's not popping up. Anyway, it was I forget the name. Basically, it was some kind of coven or some kind of group. All right, she had to get initiated or something to go further in her career. All right, and that's why then she had to do disgusting things, which was against her temperament. Lie down with another woman, right, and do other nasty things. And obviously she did it because she got more famous, but with her, more demons jumped on her, and then she just mutilated her face because she didn't want to look at herself in the mirror anymore. When you don't want to look at yourself in the mirror, what do? You want to change things. All right? You want a so-called upgrade in their mind. And that's why Lil Kim, from somewhat an okay-looking woman, she turned herself into damn near a Moabite-looking Transgender. She looks weird now. So lucky if I made it a little drawn out, but it's just spirit's been on me, where I did a video yesterday about people doing the same, about people selling their soul or whatever. I saw this last night and I thought, damn, you see it all the time anyway, right? In different movies and shows, and you see them doing hand gestures, eye gestures, or whatever, right? But actually, you know what? Let me get one more scripture as well. They make a how do I quote it? They make gestures with their hands and eyes. King James Version. I think this is the one. Proverbs 6:13. 1 second. Proverbs 6:13. Proverbs 6:13. He winketh with his eyes, he speaketh with his feet, he teacheth with his fingers. Okay, let's go to Proverbs 6:12. A naughty person, a wicked man, walketh with a froward mouth. Froward is argumentative. Verse 13, and 13 as well. He winketh with his eyes, he speaketh with his feet, he teacheth with his fingers. Verse 14, frowardness is in his heart, he deviseth mischief continually, he soweth discord. Verse 15, therefore shall his calamity come suddenly, suddenly shall he be broken without remedy. These 6 things doth the Lord Yahweh Shemeshai hate, yea, 7 are an abomination unto him. All right. Yeah, I think I'll leave it there now. All right. Speaking with their hands. Anyway. Shalom.